Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here at Spartan Trading.com. Wow. Alrighty then. Okay, so let's take a peek. Yesterday, we know what happened with the CPI. It was, mixed, right? Let's see what's going on in terms of China. Okay, industrial production, a little bit softer, higher retail sales, balance of fixed asset investment, 5.5%. Unemployment rate was a little bit higher than expected. Nice to know about Moldova, right? EU economic fund. Look, the shock to the market this morning obviously was when Saudi Arabia came out this morning and said, hey, Credit Suisse, sorry, you're on your own. I'm not putting any more money into you. German, wholesale prices better than expected. Wholesale prices year over year, which is really odd. Same, right? Then we have with India, the balance of trade, better than expected exports, better than expected, and imports were better than expected. Industrial production out of Europe, softer, higher. It's just okay. Well, that's because it was higher than the previous one. But anyways, the Bund 30-year Bund 2.32. And then we basically had better mortgage numbers, right? Applications were still 6.5%, right? Market index was better, right? So, and then we got our illustrative PPI, retail sales, core PPI, yada, yada. I did not change that. I should change that. I will do that next. Ta-da! Now, for those of you who were paying attention yesterday, I posted after 3 o'clock that I had these spreads on, right? FAS, which is 3 times short financial institutions, right? Against FAS, which is 3 times long. And I said I was 4-to-1 FAS short versus long. And I also said I was TZA, I was 2-to-1. So this is how I do hedges when I have when I'm building a portfolio. And we have uncertain times, right? We have to do something about that. And I posted that for you guys after 3 o'clock in the equity section. So we shall see. Now, what's really fascinating is that FRC is up, right? Slightly, but still up. So it's more the money center banks like JP Morgan, stuff like that. Fascinating. Just absolutely positively fascinating. See how it plays out. Now, I did learn something which I was actually pretty shocked about, and I'll show you in a second. And here we get, they're baking in a 1 whole basis point cut by the end of the year, I believe it is. So, I don't know. So now we got 37% unched, 62% just a quarter basis point. I think, I've discussed in detail why, the balance sheet, winding that down, and the Fed funds rate is increasing as a double tightening. And we know this to be true because they just created a liquidity problem because of the inversion. A lot of these institutions. Now, look, since the beginning of time, right? Institutions basically loan in the front end and basically cover that borrow in the long end, right? This inversion is very, very destructive on a lot of different levels. Now, we had Wells Fargo do their shelf offering, right? South Beach's person got this right? So, there's a lot of uncertainty. I suspect what's going to happen is a lot of banks are going to have to be doing that to raise cash, right? I mean, there's almost so much pressure they can take, right? Okay. Earnings. So we had an interesting thing with the airlines, right? I mean, UAL down $1. Okay. AMDA, we got not much on the raising guidance. Right, this is, can't be too excited about this. Let's see what they got going on here. So you see here, today we have Adobe and Array, right? Fascinating. Oatly, this, that. I don't know if any of you followed me on that. I told you that I got stopped into UVXY. I had a pivot point that I got stopped into. And that was at $6 yesterday. So I got into that at 6. Which is kind of interesting, but I didn't expect that to happen, but it did. So what do we got? All right, so this is what literally. Okay, so we all thought, right, that the SPR, the government would be buying 70 at 73. Guess what? They haven't made a purchase since the end of December. They've done a drawdown, but they have not made a purchase. Okay, to build up the reserve. Now that backstop we all were thinking about, when I read that, I said, oh, shit. And that's why we're seeing oil breaking down, is because there is no backstop. They're not buying in the low 7. Well, they haven't made a purchase yet. This is weekly update of the SPR. What's in it? Strategic reserve, right? Petroleum reserve. So look at this. I mean, when I saw that, I said, oh my God. All right, so let's take a peek at what happened here. Basically, they're blaming this 2018 banking law, basically. It was bipartisan. It was, Trump signed it. Basically, the oversight just wasn't there. Now, Elizabeth Warren's gonna, whatever. But in this regard, I think she's kind of right because of the deregulation. Look, people will take advantage of anything they can when they can, right? And SVB was actually under scrutiny because of the crypto stuff, right? Sanders, basically, the Republican director of the Congressional Budget, warned of this exact scenario 5 years ago, that the bill would increase what he thought was a small likelihood that a large financial firm with assets between 100 and 250 billion would fail. So this was really a Republican one, CBO. These guys are, now these are one of the brightest peeps in the room, these CBO peeps. Okay. Just saying. So now they're talking about putting back restrictions on some of these mid-cap, higher scrutiny on these mid-cap financial institutions. Graduate primary residence, yeah, we know. So see how that plays out. That's Swiss. Right, so. I mean, I tell you. Now, what's really interesting is we do have a setup here. High net put strike expiring today. Just so you know. So I think they'll push it. We'll see what happens with PPI, but I think they'll push it. And then there should be a nice rally when they start to take profits on that. Yeah. So EU's got some issues on, well, let's be honest. For those who've been in this market for decades, Credit Suisse is a bad actor, has always been a bad actor. I was shocked when they got the funding that they got from the Saudi Arabians, but you know why they got it. But irregardless, this is a bank that's been in trouble for decades. Here's the inflation breakdown, eggs, butter. This is systemic, right? Right? This isn't going away. Right? Not going away. I wish I had more. See, this is the problem. Okay, it's mathematics, right? In terms of volatility. And that's why I've been buying UVXY, because it's mathematics. And I'm comfortable with the math. And I don't hold it long. I mean, right now, I'm going to sell half of it because I'm up 12%, right? On the UVXY. I mean, this is just mathematics. And I'll post that to the room. And then we go from there. I really enjoy sharing what I do to everybody and posting it down. Because I think differently than most. I use a lot of leverage stuff. 12.34% overnight. Spank it. Okay, they're wrong. There's always something you don't know what it is. This is it. 1 basis point cut by December. This is crazy stuff. I don't know what to tell you. All I know is epic, epic. We've never seen anything like this before because we have retail heavily involved in some of this stuff. Irregardless, I would question anyone who can recall this sort of range and volatility in interest rate products. Ever. Just say ever. Okay. What do we got? Creditors of Silicon Valley Bank parent company are preparing for potential. Well, they're already starting to split stuff out, right? People, but we know Goldman Sachs bought some of their paper, right? I mean, that's what Citrini said. They would just basically sell the boats, right? Russian jets struck a U.S. spy drone over the Black Sea. Facebook going to Meta, we know. U.S. Airlines is trying to manage travelers find post-pandemic routines. iPhones get refurbished and make companies money. You bet they do. Right? The golden age of French pensions is near its end. Okay, this is crazy. Plans to lower prices of its insulin drugs. Is a hard bomb of salt, preservatives, and sugar. I don't know. Okay, for those of you who like Elliott Wave, this is the master of it, one of the masters of Avi Gilbert, right? So he's actually been looking, he's saying basically on his waves and shit like that. I don't like it because it's subjective. But anyways, 38.10 is his key support. And then a reclaim of 39.37. Okay, that's what he's saying. Okay. But Credit Suisse. Right. Your regional bank chaos. Shout out to South Beach on his KRE. whoever his keep was, made nice money on that, in the shout out, so that worked out well. Had to consider tougher rules for mid-sized banks. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Look, it's like a child, right? The child acts badly, right? Well, you got to put some sort of guardrails on it, right? Sorry, guys, but this is it. I mean, you're going to have to put some guardrails on. This is what they're going to do. You know, they could investigate as much as you want. This is basically no oversight. End of story, period, exclamation mark. This is what no oversight looks like. Now, this is an interesting question. Are we on the hook for this? You betcha. Of course we are. Seriously. Fed's loan program appears to favor SVB. Yeah, well, no, we'll see how that plays out soon. Norfolk Southern, I wouldn't be surprised. Apple Supply, Foxconn to expand US EV business. Okay. And its best streak since the last bull market. We know it's an asset class. Look at my gold. I'm overweight gold, obviously. Would be. So, just saying. There's not a lot to say here, right? I mean, everything is basically, we got the CPI, everything is basically focused on liquidity issues with these banks, right? It's liquidity funding, right? That's why the Wells Fargo did a, multi-billion shelf offering, right? They need money, right? And we'll see who needs money. Drone crash adds fuel to US whatever. Look, you spy on us, we spy on you. Everybody's happy, right? Not so much. Okay, what happened here yesterday? Let's see. All right, so this was the money one. Anything, it got up to 80 plus. So I said, hey, I know a lot of you followed my whatever, the idea that when it gets to 80 plus, even South Beach asked me about it. So when it gets to 80 plus, either side, you buy puts or you buy calls. And it worked. It doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, the hit rate is very, 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 very high. Okay, a lot of this stuff, what am I going to tell you? All right, WWE, 3.9 million, 85. Can't tell you. That's a takeover bet, right? Microsoft, 1.2 million. End of the month, can't tell you. I mean, this SMCI, can't tell you. Can't tell you a lot of stuff. It's quad witching in quarter end. I cannot tell you a lot of stuff. I have no idea how to read some of these. Somebody's more buying of Krug, Dr. Pepper. This is really quite something. Day after day after day, they buy millions and millions of dollars down here. What do we got? Not tied to options. What's not? Toge is not. CSCO, NLST, Vertex is not, and midcap. All right, let's see what our keeps are saying. FTCI, FT Solar, Julianne from Bank of America. I don't know why this is not allowing me to. Let's see. Nope, it's not allowing me to toggle it. So sad, too bad. Anyways, UNM City, Michael is a 72% stud RGA. TFC, Keith at City, EXLS, and FTCI all got 70% plus and all had nice little pops on it, 33%, 21, 44. Azul got one, but it was a 47% from Morgan Stanley. Josh, you got to raise your game there, dude. Okay, you got to raise your game. All right, let's see what's going on here with the downgrades. Surprisingly, not a lot, but All of them have higher price targets. I mean, I don't know what to tell you on that one. CGen, whatever. Initiations, MVLA. What's got a juicy increase there? Is MVLA, the Mavella Holdings, Stifle, but Toy, Svanberg is an 83% stud. Right? We had a 14%. Bad, right? All right, let's see what's going on here. As you can see, yesterday's rally reset everything. Last couple of things, reset everything. GDX is high again, right? Let's see what's not. 2 years at 2, 5 year, and then you see we get about a pop today. The volatility is really quite something, but we make money in it, so what do we care, right? As you can see, everything was green, now it's not so green, right? Utilities 10-day is red, rosy red, right? So we'll see. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so all right, well, this is unprecedented. I just don't know what to tell you. And this is a function of, well, you don't see this sort of price action unless you get some really, really freaking ass nervous peeps out there. I'm just saying, you just don't see that sort of price action unless something's, I mean, seriously, on a day-to-day basis, you just don't see it. Overseas, same thing. I mean, whoa. Okay. So in theory, right? In theory, money should be flowing into equities as a high, high beta, well, high risk names, risk on, as Twin said yesterday. So it's like, okay. All I have to say is fascinating, right? Everything's down. All yields are down except Brazil. Okay. Here's the 5-2 on the inversion. We still haven't been able to get through that though, right? That downtrend that started in 2021. That would be interesting, right? Here's the 210. It did break and hold above it now. Okay. And now we're pinned. This is a 23.6% Fed from peak to top. God bless. Here's the 530. What a bounce, right? Just crazy. Sometimes just crazy. Here's the 10-year. Holding about that 61.8%. I did buy a little bit off this pivot here because why not? It's a Fed, right? So, Chinese yuan, Chinese interest rates, they're going down. German rates are a key pivot point, FYI, on a weekly. And then then we get back to basically here, right? So we got this extension. Then we've got this extension. Okay. Oh, what do we got? The dollar. It's reclaiming this extension. It's not a strong extension on the weekly because I don't really have a lot of points on here, but not my favorite. I like at least 3. but we'll see what happens here. I think this is going higher, the dollar, but we'll see. And here you see the Chinese in one. I mean, this is the range. I don't see us breaking that. Here we go, cryptos, down 4. Commodities, what do we got? Well, we got a sea of red, right? What do we got up? Orange juice again, right? Rough rice, corn, that's important. Globally, nickel is up, right? Then we got silver and gold. Silver is leading the way. And then you've got all these. I mean, this is really quite fascinating. This is whack-a-mole time. You know how I say whack-a-mole, you just don't know. So we got a little bit of a double bottom still holding here on the natty gas. Okay, so see how that plays out. Crude. All right, let's talk. We're at a key pivot here. We did break this triangle that we were in. If we break here, then we're probably going, there's a lot of support, but we're probably going down to, you know, this quadrant here, you can see. And this is a function of the government is not a backstop right now, which I just think is remarkable. They're not buying. Okay. So that's that. Okay. Here's the gold crude ripping, breaking out. You can see that. His gold, just fantastic. I'm just really proud of this trade for those of you who followed me. You know, it's not that easy. It's really not that easy day in and day out, you know, guiding with some of the stuff that I do. And I'm kind of proud when I get it right. I get it right, you know, but here's a fix, right? Anyways, everything's down, right? Contagion, whatever. Reality. So DAX is definitely into key support here. Has to hold up if not, right? Fez still actually holding up. Here it is right now. Okay, it's a reversion to the mean. We'll see how that plays out. Okay. FXI still pre-market has broken down a little bit down here. I do have some K-Web up and some Yang, right? K-Web. All right, let's get to the money one, right? CQQQ, right? But here's the money one. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see how it plays out here. That means they're both weakening equally, right? So Bobalicious, let's take a peek at Bobalicious on the weekly. Okay, let's watch the PPI is coming up, but we got a little bit of a double bottom here. It's breaking a little bit. We'll see where we close on the weekly. Next, okay, breaking through, right? This is tough because you can see here. Look at the monthly right now. I mean, yeah, this is why you take money when you make it, right? Because these candles are just crazy. Let's see what happens here, my friends, when we get this number. It's coming out very soon, in a minute. Okay. Bang, failure right now. If I can hold above this, good. I really would want this, you know, I still think Fang makes the most sense to me if you're going to basically put your money in a risk trade, right? Here's the NASDAQ. Basically reversion to the mean, but it's still actually holding up, which is really fascinating, right? Well, here we go with the Russell, right? It's actually holding up as well, believe it or not, from here, 2020 down here, but there's a monthly chart, so we do have room. If we break below here, this is 1725. We're still above that, believe it or not. So if that breaks, then we have room down here. So no, believe it or not, no damage is being actually done. All right, let's see. Wow, that is really fantastic number. Core PPI 4.4, fantastic. 0, Well, let's see if we got our rally caps on right now. See what kind of bounce we get. Right? Retail sales was worse than expected. Right? Wow, fantastic numbers on the PPI. All right. So what the retail sales year over year was 5.4. Schooling gas was 0. All right. Wow, great numbers. Great numbers. See how long it holds. See what kind of bounce we get. Okay. See if we get our rally caps on. All right, so here's the SPY futures on the weekly, still no damage done, 3802. You can see this on the futures. Right? Dow is breaking down. I would not be surprised Dow to get down to here, to be honest with you. It's looking heavy, unless obviously 3227 is the pivot right now. All right, let's take a look at CRE. All right, so monthly, it has not actually taken out the low yet for the month. So that's kind of interesting, right? And believe it or not, it still has room, I mean, for 78.6% true. We'll see. Well, Blackstock came out with their information, their estimated revenue and stuff. Keep an eye on that. Yeah, selling off as a result. Yeah. Okay, here's Berkshire Hathaway still doing fine, but breaking down a little bit here. Keep an eye on this one. Right? I mean, it's holdings. I mean, Citi and Bank of America, right? JP Morgan. Now, JP Morgan is actually down pre-market at 30.80, 130.84. Okay, keep an eye on this one. It has a really robust candle from Monday. Right, keep an eye on this one. This is fascinating. It's 38.2% is actually, so it's still holding. It's a double bottom right now, intact for the most part right now. Well, it's good for interest rates, that's for sure, for bonds. It's good for the gold. It's good for some of these asset classes. I mean, I'll be honest with you, this data is going to reaffirm, right, with what the Fed is going to do. The statistical probability, let's see how much this has moved right now. This was 37, this was 62 before the PPI. Okay. Now this has gone up to 49. So basically the market is saying 50-50, no cut now. No cut. Right? And then cut. Now, don't forget, that's PPI. So that's producer price index, right? So the cost of making goods. So that's actually bullish for companies, right? That if the cost of making goods is lower, right? Then their profit margins should be able to spread out, right? So I'm thinking. We'll see what gets bought up. Bank of America just at the lows, making lows, whatever. See what happens here. I mean, you don't know what this name is, and you look at this chart and says, "Damn, it's going back down to here." That's what it looks like, right? 27.75 is the pre-market, and then 78.6% for this 24. I don't know. Okay, what incentivizes? I don't know why I have so many of those. Okay, still don't know what the hell. All right, so here's FOC, right? Pre-market's at 38.43, so it's down slightly, right? And here's the candle that goes all the way back down to 19. Huge volume bar, right? I don't know how this ends up, right? watch, I'm looking at, sectors, Fontenette is holding up fantastic one, this one. Zscaler, watch this one. It's at a key pivot. Datadog, same thing, key pivot. Cloud, really interesting, but it's getting, we have a pivot here that's getting rebuffed at, notable. All right, so some of these that were up are starting to go down. Microsoft, let's take a peek. All right. So Microsoft, believe it or not, is at this extension. Okay. Trying to figure out where this extension, well, this is a point right here. There's something there. So I'm not exactly sure what that is. Irregardless, it still has a lot of work to be done. But the good news is it's holding up, but it's below this. I mean, it was starting to reclaim. So keep an eye on Microsoft, right? Microsoft, Apple. I'm looking at, rotation, right? You know how that works for me. This is Microsoft, Apple. So this is actually looking pretty good. Here's Oracle, Microsoft, Meta. Interesting. Let's put a fib on this. Well, it's a no-brainer knowing that Meta is the strongest, right? Let's see if it can reclaim here, though. Okay. We have last month's low. Well, if that continues, then this is telling us you want to be in Meta. Salesforce, rebuffed at the reversion to the mean, notable. iPay. It is holding, it is holding 78.6%. MasterCard. So we're looking at fintech. Don't forget, okay, Twin said these are now moving, right, on Friday to the financials. Correct, Twins? XLF? You said that, right? You said that, right? You showed that chart. It was going to the financials, correct? XLF? I believe that's what you showed us, right? On that chart. I don't know where it is. Anyways, I believe they're going to the financials. Okay. So that actually gives a little bit of support. Well, I don't know what the hell. That's going to be interesting, right? American Express reversion to the mean, sitting on it right now. It was unable to hold this extension. So these fintech are looking a little heavy, guys. So I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And if that actually is added as well to the XLF, right? It's a whole new ball game. Visa, iPay, MasterCard, Visa, basically neutral, right? So American Express, Visa. American Express is weakening a little bit against Visa, nothing there. Visa, PayPal, this is interesting. I want to keep an eye on this one. Okay, consolidator, but let's see what happens here. FISV. And like I say, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the movement on Friday out of tech into financials, which I don't understand why it wasn't, but hey, we're at a key pivot here on PayPal. Square, actually doing well. It's in the mid, so that's holding up really well, right? So here's this XLE USO trade. Okay, so you see the XLE bounced. We'll see how that works. I am short. I have the spread on. It should make sense to everybody. And let's take a look at the XLK. Right. So this is the one I'm assuming it's coming out of and going into the financials. It's actually holding up fine. I mean, this extension on the monthly, 135.42. So that's kind of interesting, right? Look, Credit Suisse issue is a big deal. For those of you understand that, right? I mean, it's a big deal. It's a whopping big deal.
All right, Beth, ready to pop on here. Alrighty, guys, what's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. Let's get right into it. So if you guys need to chat and have done so, make sure to click on the Discord link that's emailed to you. You're going to pop into chats and look something a little bit like this. First area to go to, guys, when you do pop in is this disclaimer section. Click on that, give it a read, as well as go to the go to the disclaimer section, give that a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section, scroll to the very top. Top of the section, you got a link to the disclaimer as well as this bolded risk reward section. Super important to understand both. In regards to risk reward, guys, basically breaks down, it's one of the most important ratios in trading, so I think it's important to go through that in my opinion. Continue to scroll down, we have the summary of how the chat works, breaks down all these channels work on the left hand side, so you can probably navigate the chat through the day. That's important to know to be looking. And continue to scroll down, we have how to re-alerts on the options and equity side, pretty straightforward in that regard. Continue to scroll down, we have then the Spartan option tools that we'd like to use Monday to Thursday in regards to controlling risk, scaling in, scaling out, trading different price contracts, etc. Below this, the any with a small account less than 10K, breaking down if you do have a smaller account less than 10K, here's some rules, information, discipline you can put in place, in my opinion, to have a better chance of growing that account. Again, just my opinion. If you want to use that, that's just what we used to use, or I used to use for my smaller account. So up to you if it's a fit or not. Below this, how to pick ideas from an options record perspective, which just basically breaks down how to overlay your own criteria on top of the ideas. You're only left with things that do make sense. All right, let's take a look what we got going on today, guys. Couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch. Tesla, Humana, BGNE, FRPT, Wall, and THMO. So Tesla gapping down to sympathy the market. Humana gapping down to sympathy the market. BGNE, Prelude Therapeutics announces clinical trial collaboration with Beijing to evaluate whatever. It doesn't matter. Gapping up on that. FRPT, Fresh Pet Inc. announces proposed convertible senior notes offering, gapping down. Wall gapping down to continuation. THMO. Thermogenesis announces rollout of Ready Start CGMP suites for early stage cell and gene therapy companies, and we're gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, first two we're looking at today, guys, Tesla and Humana, and let's have a look. So, you know what I didn't do? I didn't load this platform. Let's rip that up. Take a look at the SPY real quick. Well, that's going on. So we had a little bit of a sec. So a little bit of a gap down on the market there. Nothing too crazy, but obviously PPI came out a little bit head fake to the upside. We'll take a look at that in just a second here. Let's start ripping through these individual charts now I got this platform up. So first two we're looking at, like I said, guys, was Tesla and Humana. Let's go through that. The Tesla guys gapping down, of course. Let's take a look at this on the daily chart. Got 50 EMA, got 13 EMA, and this inverted head and shoulders. And then that right there is fine. That support. Okay, that should be good. Let's take a look at this thing intraday here. So Tesla guys pivot to the downside today. Last day's low 177.23. In my opinion, unable to hold 169.44, 160.498. Able to hold 182.35 to 186.35 on the upside overall on Tesla. Right now, I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side just because the hourly uptrend broke. Going to be looking for continuation lower if the pivot point is unable to stay intact today. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Let's take a look at Humana. I just like this range that's going to be tested today, so figured could have a decent amount of room if that level does break. All right, that's good. Let's take a look at this thing intraday here. Pivot to the downside today on Humana, guys. 478.35, unable to hold. 478, sorry, 475.83, 471.98, and then below that, 467.75, able to hold. We got pushed back towards 42.98 to 47.28. Right now, going to be leading on the bearish neutral side today. Looking for continuation lower if that pivot point is unable to hold, in my opinion, of course. All right, let's take a screenshot of these two. Let's move on to the next. BGNE and FRPT. So again, BGNE, or again, another chart that I do like on the daily look, that BGNE, look at this setup off the lows. It's actually quite nice if we can hold up. Nice amount of range. I don't know why this keeps going. Annoying. Okay. BGNE, guys, let's take a look at this right here. So pivot to the upside today. It's going to be that last day high area, 238.80, 238.18. Levels able to hold 243.61. If that level breaks, you got room towards 250.91. So quite a bit of room. After that, unable to hold, in my opinion, going to be looking for a pullback into the 226.57 to 218.09 on the downside. Overall on BGNE, going to be leaning bullish neutral today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to stay intact, in my opinion. That's that. Let's take a look at FRPT. Just gonna go on the daily for this one, guys. FRPT 49.26 pivot to the downside today, unable to hold 45.61, 43.13, able to hold 52.65. That level breaks. We got room for continuation back into the 57.09 on the upside. Overall, going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower on BGNE, or sorry, on FRPT. Leaning bearish neutral, in my opinion. So that is FRPT and BGNE. All right, let's take a look at the next two, guys. Wall and THMO. Again, these not a huge gap on the regionals. I thought we were going to get a bigger gap down, but okay. It's going to be interesting trading for sure. Let's get that 10-year out. All right, 2987 pivot to the downside today on this wall, unable to hold for 2646, 2260, able to hold 3307, 3561. Of course, we got more levels here. Overall, on wall, going to be leaning bearish neutral up the gate right now, looking for a little bit of a pull retest of the last day's lows, and we can see what's what in that name, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for there. Let's take a look at this THMO. The THMO, nice little gap up here. I'm gonna keep it on the daily. There's a couple names. It's hard to look at the individual charts. That's freaking annoying. All right. So pivot to the upside today, guys, going to be this 391 on the upside, in my opinion. This level is able to hold. You got room for continuation towards the 469 to 541, unable to hold 338, 303 on the downside, leading bullish neutral out the gate, looking for a pop, and then topping this afternoon for a pullback, in my opinion on that. So that is wall, that is THMO. We'll see what happens today on these names. Should be interesting. Let's take a look at the spine, the FEG. Market gap down. I had 382, I think, on the PPI yesterday. Saying the first range support is what I'm looking at. So it's not quite there, but it's getting close. 385.50 pivot to the downside today. Levels able to be reclaimed. 388.03, 389.81. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback towards 384.22 to 383.03 on the downside. Obviously, you're testing the inverted head and shoulders level on the hourly here. We'll see what happens in that regard, whether that level wants to hold. But right now, it's a little bit more of a bearish looking chart. And yeah, we'll see if the market does roll over or not. You're obviously back below all EMA support, all that good stuff. So definitely a little bit ugly looking on the daily chart again. Now, this inverted head and shoulders is going to be a big level of defense here. And if it fails, then of course we go back towards the recent range lows. Apple pivot to the downside today. It's going to be this level right here. The 149.94, unable to hold 148.38, able to hold 151.68, 152.97. Definitely worth keeping an eye on Apple today, just because the Apple and Microsoft basically have been leading the market almost every single day of the last 2 weeks. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side here on Apple, looking for a continuation lower if the pivot's unable to stay intact. Now, again, this is if these levels break, because we were at support levels on a lot of stuff. Amazon pivot to the downside today, 93.65, unable to hold 92.71. If that level breaks, we're going to be down into this level right here, 90.31, and then 88.12, able to hold 95.41. Actually going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of Amazon. It's holding up well. Decent relative strength compared to the rest of the market, in my opinion. So in the bullish neutral right now, in my opinion, only if we can get above that pivot point, though. It's not, great relative strength, but it's definitely relatively strong compared to the other names. Netflix, same camp as the market, 288.87 pivot, levels able to hold. We've got room for continuation towards the 292.70 to 299.48, unable to hold 285.13. I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today if this pivot point is unable to hold. Let's take a look at Meta. All right, guys, Meta pivot downside today, 189.88. I should say upside. Pivot to the upside, 198.80. 189.88, level holds 194.32, 197.23, unable to hold 186.54 to 182.63, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a pivot hold, push back to the upside. I want to see a range break test on the daily and actually get through that level today. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to be leaning bullish, neutral there. And last but not least, guys, I'm going to do Google here. All right, Google pivot downside today in 92.81. Levels unable to hold. We got room towards the 92.18 to 91.30. Able to hold. We're looking at 93.81 to 94.42 on the upside. Going to be leaning bearish, neutral on Google today. All right, let's quickly do the VIX, Qs, and IWM. All right, guys, VIX. Definitely important levels to keep getting an eye on today. Pivot to the upside today. I'm actually going to have it at this head and shoulders break to the upside, 28.85. Level holds, 31.11, 32.94. Unable to hold, 26.36, 24.96 downside. Not leaning any particular direction on the VIX, guys, but using it for direction on the market. So keep an eye on the pivot point, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's take a look at the Qs. QQQ, 293.82 pivot downside today. Levels unable to hold. We have room towards the 287.20, able to hold 299.24, 302.92 downside, leading on the bearish neutral side today on the Qs, looking for continuation lower. $39.10 pivot, sorry, not $39.10, $38.79. Actually, it's called $38.46 pivot to the downside today on the SPX. Levels unable to hold 38.08. Able to hold, we look for a pushback towards the 38.79 to $39.10. Going to be leaning bearish neutral there. So that's SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Selpeach while I type up that pre-market action plan. Then we'll do a quick little recap before the open. Selpeach, if you're ready, she's all yours for now, my friend.
Hey guys, okay, let's just jump right into it, okay? Bunch of shit going on today. So the bonds are down again, reflecting, this serious problem we have with the banks and the ability for the Fed to raise rates in the face of this. In fact, there's whole monkey wrench in that. So we got the 10-year down to 346. Down from what, 420 a week ago, maybe? That's an enormous move. The 2 years down 0.33, which is just crazy. This thing was what, 5%? 520. Now it's 389. Okay, so you can tell the velocity of this move by the bonds, which is kind of, you don't see it very often. Let's put it that way. And the spread, which was $1 over $1 on the inversion, is now only 34. I'm sorry, that can't be right. Can it? 43. Okay, so it's really come down a long way. Now, remember what Gunlack said. The inversion stops inverting before we go into a recession. So that was the tea leaves are kind of saying, might be right on that one, right? Everything's getting kind of nasty. Bonds are coming in, et cetera, et cetera. So that prescript looks like it has some validity to it in this case. Okay, so I take what he says very seriously. 10-year in London is down also. So bonds basically across the board are down. Their 10 years are 331. What's ours? 346. So kind of in line-ish. 10 years down, Germany down to 220. It was 280. So a huge move there. So you get the drift on the bonds, okay? Lower yields, all right? Just harder to find places to capture money, right? People are searching for returns, and it's getting a little dicey there, right? Okay, let's look at commodities. So we had oil get smashed yesterday, and now it's getting smashed again. Now we'll see if the US is really a buyer at 70, right? Biden gave us that bullshit, what, 6 months ago, that at 70 he'll buy back oil. Let's see what happens. That should be interesting. And he'll start filling back the strategic reserves. So let's see what happens with that. But for now, it broke that price, and we'll see, right? So natural gas is down just a little bit there. Gold up, so gold up, weak dollar probably. We'll see what that is. As far as commodity prices, we got lumber at a new low. You know, most of these commodities are trading at lower levels. Wheat's gotten smashed, even though it's up a little today. So commodities have been kind of behaving. Currency-wise, dollars up against North America, down against the yen, up against the Chinese currency, up against the euro, up against the pound. Okay. And let's look at crypto. Crypto's down 200, of course. It's a dollar play, right? So that's why. And after a huge day yesterday, it's down 1% today. Ethereum's down almost 3%. Solana's down 0.5%. And let's look at the foreign markets where there's a bloodbath going on at the moment. All right, the FTSE's down 2.8%. Man, not as bad as I thought. DAX is down 3%. France is down 3.5%. And this thing didn't start until Europe closed. I'm sorry, Asia closed. So Nikkei was flat, China was flat, and Hong Kong was up 1.5%. So there's your backdrop. Okay. What do we have today? So we had this whole thing kind of got going with the Credit Suisse situation, right? When their big backer, the Saudis, basically said, we're done. No more, we're done. And CS is getting its ass kicked, right? What's it down? Looks like about 1868, 69, over 250. It's not nothing, a little less than 30%. Yeah, 28%. Okay, so that's that. We have the banks and the Fed. So the big issue, guys, is we got some numbers today, right? The PPI number came in a little better than expectations. I don't necessarily believe the numbers. I kind of think the fix is in. But that being said, it was 0 over 0.4, and year over year, it came in 4.4 versus 5.2. So what's going to happen when the Fed meets next week? That's the big question, okay? But fortunately for Powell, and this is not usually the case, the Europeans meet prior to. So let's see what they do first. If they raise rates, I would imagine that we will, for sure. If they don't raise rates, I don't know. The betting right now is 61% think we're going to have a 1/4 point raise, and 39% think nothing. I have no idea. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think it really matters. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, I think the banking issue is a lot more relevant than whether he raises a 1/4 point or not. China, nothing really new there. They brokered that deal with Saudi Arabia and Iran. We'll discuss it a little bit. Russia, same thing. A couple of things happened. So they shut down or intercepted or crashed with one of our drones. We are complaining. They say we provoked them. Then there was a Russian fighter that flew over Estonia, had to be escorted out by 2 jet fighters, one from Germany and one from Britain, NATO. Then they had a commercial airline fly over Estonia. That had to be escorted out. Geopolitical situation is being underestimated, in my opinion. Okay, so it's really nasty. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think I've ever seen it like this, with superpowers kind of locking horns. And it's a little bit scary. And so that's just another big problem that we have. But people are focusing on, you know, things front and center and not really focusing on that. But I think you have to think about it. Okay, so we have that whole Russia situation with Ukraine and the whole thing's a complete mess. Okay, crypto's had a 2-day rally that'll blow your doors off. I don't know why. I don't understand crypto that well. I think it's a dollar play. That's my opinion on it, but I don't really give a shit, to be honest. I mean, I have bigger fish to fry than what crypto does every day. If you guys are interested, God bless, but it's not really my thing. As far as Mr. Market yesterday, we did have a nice rally. They looked like they were going to hit him into the bell, and all of a sudden we got huge to buy on the bell, what, 4.6 billion or some crazy number like that. And the Dow did, had a nice gain, 336 points. The S&P was almost flat at like what, 3 o'clock, and it ended up almost 60 at 59. NASDAQ had a good day, and the transports were down a little. The best groups were banks, insurance, FANG, and semis. Okay, home builders were okay too, as were hospitals and consumer non-durables. And the only groups that were kind of crappy were EV and airlines. Okay, so that's that. All right, so we come in today, we see this this disaster going on in Europe with their banking stocks. Not a whole lot different than we had the week before, right? So if you look at the banking stocks in Europe, you have BNP Paribas down 10%. You got Societe Generale down 12%, both French banks. You got C-Bank, Commerce Bank in Germany down 8%. You got Deutsche Bank down 7%. You got Barclays down almost 7%. Pru, their insurance companies down 10%. So you could see the turmoil in the financials over there. Credit Suisse, we discussed a little bit. Weakness, really, strong weakness in banks and insurance and retail. Okay, people are scared, whatever. So those are the stocks that got murdered the most. And of course, you have the oils down. So a little bit of cascading this morning in that respect. Okay, so let's see what else we have. So we have the bank turmoil in Europe. Now you see that the Senate and Senate Democrats want the SEC to investigate, DOJ and SEC investigate SVB. Okay, that's grandstanding. They should, they will, and you don't need to get them off the dime to get them to do it. Of course, they're going to investigate, right? Moscow defending U.S. drone crash, saying it was provoked. Bank group in Europe down 6.4%, retail 4.7%. So you see where the damage is, right? Larry Fink, he runs BlackRock. I always get those two confused. Okay, he runs BlackRock. He wrote his annual letter today to shareholders. I thought it was pretty interesting. Let's see what he's saying. Liquidity mismatch. So people are buying illiquid things to boost returns, and that's going to be a problem because they're so illiquid that you're kind of stuck in the trade. Here's the main thing that he said that got me all interested. And this is kind of sort of what I've been saying all along. He says inflation stays closer to 3.5% to 4% for the next few years. Okay, so he's not seeing this whole mess that, this, and I've been saying it all along, right? This 2% inflation that Powell is looking to capture. I think he's smoking something. It ain't ever, look, like I said, it's never going to happen. Never is a long time, but not for a while. That whole deflationary cycle that we were in, that is gone and over. And to get it to 2%, I don't know what he has to do, but we have this real dichotomy of, do you save the banking sector and keep rates down a little bit for them, or do you worry about inflation? I'm glad I don't have that problem, okay, because it's a real hard call. Now, let's see if he said anything else. Inflation will be more persistent and more difficult to tame over the long term. Stricter capital requirements for banks, reduced lending, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that's his narrative. All right, Kate Stockton, who I really thinks she's fantastic. She says bear market cycle still in charge. Volatility, which is bear market trade, has picked up. She sees major support at 35.05. Okay, so that's a long way off. She says the support before that is really weak. So that's a Fibonacci retracement and the October low that she's looking at. All right, upside. She thinks that bank yields, interest rate yields, will be flat to lower. She's looking for 3.25 on the 10-year. Yes, we do, Roger. We do know that. I agree with you, pal. And you don't even have to say what you're thinking. Let's see, what else do we have? Ohio is suing Norfolk and Southern. The whole problem with Norfolk and Southern is they stop fixing their lines to save money. Whenever you do that, whether it's, neglecting something like that, or it's trying to cut corners by producing overseas and saving us a couple of pennies, it always seems to bite you in the ass. The biggest regional sports network, Diamond Sports, filed Chapter 11. In regards to that Saudi Arabia and Iran deal, Saudi Arabia could invest in Iran very quickly. Apple is delaying some employee bonuses to cut costs. I think that is just disrespectful and you shouldn't be allowed to have buybacks and not pay your people. That's what I think. Senator Warren unveiling a repeal of deregulation law for banks. What that thing effectively did is they raised the bar for the oversight from, I think, to 250 billion. And she wants to lower it back to 50 billion. All right, probably not a bad idea. One of the few times I'll agree with her. Meta, more layoffs. We discussed Tyson Foods is laying off 1,700 people. I haven't seen that in a company like this in a while. And they may be the biggest employer in the state of Arkansas. So that's going to be a bite in the ass there. Okay. Retail sales, we discussed. PPI, we discussed. Okay. What else is going on? We had Carl Icahn. He's negative on the market, but he seems to be negative on the market pretty much all the time. But he did say inflation is the devil and you must stop it. Okay. And that's the main problem. David Rubenstein, he's not seeing a recession yet. And he thinks he'll raise rates next week. L. Arian spoke today. He thinks the Fed should continue to raise because inflation is, without taming inflation, you have financial instability and all this other stuff. All right, so that's where he's at. Danny Moses, who's from the Big Short, he's looking for stagflation, which is exactly what L. Arian said yesterday. That's inflation with no growth. That does appear to be a reasonable outlook at this point. Okay. Let's see what else. Individual names. Lennar was good. Oatly, SMAR, and Len. MVLA had positive research. Target goes to 7. JNCE got an unsolicited bid from Tang. Schwab's CEO bought 50,000 shares. That stock is bucking the trend here. I'm short these banks. Okay, I don't know if any of you were in there, but I'm short KR. I'm short a bunch of. Okay, so far so good. I hate to make money at people's pain, but better than just watching it, right? Guess West had negative stuff. CS, we know. FRPT is going to get slammed. They're doing 350 million in converts. Wells Fargo is doing a $9.5 billion offering of various things. That stock's going to be weak a little bit. TMUS is buying something called Mint Mobile from 1.35 billion, backed by Ryan Reynolds. He's going to make a fortune there. Trump's Truth and Social, whatever the hell it is cutting staff. And Foxconn sees consumer electronics demand weak, and they had soft fourth quarter profits. Okay, so that's that. Group rotation, I'd be really careful in financials and insurance stocks for sure. I do think that These FANG stocks are okay because their PEs are kind of low, so lower rates is probably good for them. If the market's going to rally, I kind of think it'll be in that group, maybe even consumer non-durables or utilities, maybe even drug stocks. But this financial sector is going to be problematic. Retail sector is going to be problematic. Those are the two areas I'm looking at most on the short side. All right, that's it for me. Spartan is all you. Don't panic. Keep your wits about you guys.
All right, thank you, South Beach. Guys, morning, what's going on? So if you guys are new to chat and have already done so, make sure to click on the Discord link that's emailed to you. You're going to pop into chat. It's going to look something a little bit like this. First area to go to when you guys do pop in, click on this disclaimer section, give it a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section and scroll to the very, very top. Top of the section, you see a link to the disclaimer as well as this bolded risk reward section. As well as this bolded risk reward section, so report and understand both in regards to the summary of how the chat works. Continue to scroll down. This breaks down all the channels work on the left hand side, so you can probably navigate the chat through the day. That is important, so you know where to be looking. Continue to be scrolling down. We have the how to read alerts and the options and equity side breaking down. Basically what we're saying in that regard, pretty straightforward. Options rules will be like to use money Thursday in regards to rolling risk, scaling in, scaling out, trading different price contracts, etc., etc. SPX rules that I like to use for the SPX ideas. Options rules usually like rules that I like to use for the options ideas. If you can be looking at both, it's important to understand what's going on in that regard. Continue to scroll down. Any with a small account less 10K. Now these are just rules I used to use with the smaller account. Now this may help you guys, so just my opinion. Take a look at it. Worth taking a look at if you do have a smaller account, I think. And then how to pick ideas from an options or equity perspective, which just basically breaks down how to overlay your own criteria on top of ideas so you're left with only things that do make sense when you're trading. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple things. Pre-market tickers on watch. Oh, there we go. I was already at the top. Tesla, Humana, BGNE, FRPT, Wall, and THMO. So Tesla gapping down to CP the market. Humana gapping down to CP the market. BGNE, Prelude Therapeutics announces clinical trial collaboration, and BiGene to evaluate PRT2527 in combination with one of their drugs, gapping up on that. FRPT gapping down on proposed convertible senior note offering. Wall gapping down a continuation, and THMO announces rollout of Ready Start CGMT suites for early stage cell and gene therapy companies. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two we're looking at today is going to be that Tesla, going to be that Humana. So let's have a look at that. So Tesla and Humana. So Tesla, guys, pivot to the downside today, 177.73, unable 177.23, sorry. Unable to hold 169.44, 164.98, able to hold 182.35 and 186.35 on the upside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower today if the pivot point is unable to hold. Humana, guys, pivot to the downside today, 478.35, unable to hold 475.83, 471.98, able to hold 482.98 to 47.28 on the upside. Overall on Humana, going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower today. Let's take a look at BGNE and FRPT. So BGNE, guys, pivot to the upside today is going to be 238.18 in my opinion. Level holds 243.61. That level breaks, we got room for continuation higher towards 250.91. Unable to hold 232.74 to 226.57 on the upside or downside, sorry. Overall on BGNE, going to be leading bullish neutral. FRPT pivot to the downside today, guys. Going to be 49.26. Unable to hold 45.61, 43.13. Able to hold 52.65 to 57.08 on the upside. Overall on FRPT, going to be leaning bearish neutral, looking for continuation lower. So that is FRPT and that is BGNE. All right, let's take a look at the SPY. Sorry, Wall and THMO. Two more to go. Wall 29.87 pivot to the downside today, unable to hold 26.46, 22.60, able to hold 33.07 to 35.61 on the upside. Overall on Wall, going to be leaning bearish neutral, looking for a continuation lower today if the pivot's unable to hold, in my opinion. And then THMO 391 pivot, level holds 469, 550, 541, unable to hold 338, 303 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning bullish neutral on THMO, looking for a continuation push higher if the pivot point's able to hold, in my opinion there. SPY, let's take a look at this, guys. So let's take a look at this intraday. I'm going to write this up in the SPX section as I do. SPY 380, 422. Pivot to the upside today. This level holds. Or downside, I should say. What am I doing? Downside. This level is unable to hold. From lower into the 383.03 support. Breaks. We see the 381.81 tested. Pivot holds, room higher into the 385.50 resistance breaks. We see the 388.03 tested. Meaning bearish. Neutral if pivot cannot hold. So in my opinion, if that pivot's unable to hold, guys, I'm gonna be leaning bearish neutral, looking for that continuation to the downside today. All right, okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the thing here. Apple, guys, pivot to the downside today, 149.94, levels unable to hold, 148.38, able to hold 151.68, 151.90 or 152.97 on the upside. Overall on Apple going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today if the pivot point is unable to hold as well. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon pivot to the upside today, 93.65, level holds 95.41, unable to hold 92.71, 90.31 on the downside. Overall on Amazon, leaning bearish neutral, looking for continuation lower if the pivot point is unable to hold. Netflix pivot to the upside today, 288.87, level holds 292.70, 299.48, unable to hold 285.13, downside leaning on the Amazon's leaning bullish neutral, I think. Sorry, guys. Netflix leaning bearish neutral, looking for continuation lower. Let's take a look at Meta. Pivot to the upside today, 189.88, unable to hold, from towards 186.54, 182.63, able to hold 194.28, 197.23 on the upside. I'm leaning bullish neutral on Facebook, Meta, I should say, looking for a continuation push higher if the pivot point's able to stay intact. And then last but not least, guys, Google. 92.81 pivot to the downside today, unable to hold 92.18, 91.31, able to hold 93.81, 94.42, leaning bearish neutral there. Looking for continuation lower, but very lightly, I think, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at the Qs. Sorry, VIX, and then IDA, VIX, Qs, IDA, SPX. VIX 28.85 pivot to the upside today, level hold 31.11, 32.94, unable to hold 26.36, 24.96 downside. Overall on the VIX, not leaning any particular direction, but using for direction on the market. QQQ pivot to the downside today, guys. 293.82, unable to hold 287.20, able to hold 299.24 to 302.92 on the upside. Overall on the QQQ, going to be leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point's able to stay intact. And then last but not least, guys, SPX pivot to the downside today is going to be 384, 38.46, I should say. Levels unable to hold 38.08. Able to hold, we look for a pushback into the 38.79 on the upside to 39.10. Overall leaning bearish neutral there if the pivot point is unable to hold. If it holds, then of course we get a little bit of a bounce. So that's the SPY, that's the FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. We'll go ahead and see what happens. Market's in an interesting spot, in my opinion. We're at this inverted head and shoulders. We'll see if it's unable to hold. If it isn't unable to hold, then of course